Good afternoon, everyone. We have an hour of power, that's for sure, on Office Hours. It is episode 651, and we are guaranteed to have lots of fun with the amazing Blaine Bartlett, BlaineBartlett.com, and of course, the hour of power couldn't be the hour of power without Rhett Power, Rhett at RhettPower.com. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely.
We have a phenomenal show today, as usual, and it's good to have both of you here. So hope all is going well. We're going to bring Dan right in, as we have lots to do today. And Dan is here, CEO and founder of Push Press.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, guys. Good to have you here, Dan.
Great to be here.
And we are blessed to learn about a complete gym management platform. There's so much going on in the gyms. I work close to you with an amazing guy. You probably know him, Flex Lewis, at the Dragon's Den there.
Dragon's Lair.
Dragon's Lair there. World 7-time Mr. Olympia in a row. That's not easy. But, you know, when people look at gym management, there's so many different fitness and gyms around the country. I don't know if we even know the number. But elevating the awareness to how your platform works. What are some of the critical business issues that gyms have in the management of those businesses?
Oh man, like what don't they have? Basically, like I've owned a couple gyms, and the reason we open gyms is because we want to train people. But the second you open a gym, you have to do accounting and logistics and cleaning and buying equipment and supplementation and all of the stuff that you really don't want to do. So, I mean, the way we kind of see our role here at Push Press is we want to try to strip all of that crap away from the gym owner's hands and let the coaches and owners just focus on training clients, what they want to do.
Yeah, and in that process, Dan, I'm curious here because, you know, one of the things, I can't count the number of gyms I've joined in my life cycle on different coasts and different cities and whatnot. And retention is a big deal. Yeah, in that space. Yeah, how do we retain the clients once they sign up, particularly around New Year's? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you address that?
To me, that's the biggest problem in the space. I actually did a whole keynote on this last year. It's one of those things I call it the chocolate and broccoli effect. Like all the gym owners want to do the chocolate, which is like new leads, new members, like all the fun stuff up front, better programming. But really what it is, you have to do the boring stuff that actually makes the business work. And it's almost stupid to say this, but we looked through all the data that we have. We have millions of data points. And what we found was the number one predictor of churn was attendance, which is like the most no-brainer thing in the world. So we actually did a world tour where we went around to gyms and explained to them that, like, if you can just make your members come 8 times a month, the churn will get cut in half, and then 12 times a month gets cut in half again. Wow. And that's when we can start to see significant changes in the business. The next iteration of this that I'm working on is actually going to be engagement, which if you think of attendance, that's really a major engagement point. But there's many more engagement points that we can digitally track. Remember, like reservations and no-shows and attendance and all these different engagement pieces. I think that's going to be my next year's keynote on like expanding that into engagement points.
Great.
What I'm fascinated by, though, is you went from a gym owner to a SaaS company. That's not a normal jump. That's not a normal transition.
Yeah, I guess if you go backwards from there, I became a gym owner from being a software engineer. So I've taken all kinds of these weird routes through my career. Yeah.
Well, what was it? I mean, what was the point? Like, what was the, how did that come about? Like, what was the idea?
I guess my whole life I've been entrepreneurial, and I've always kind of built solutions via software to my own problems. And so the minute I opened a gym, I realized that none of the gym software that was out there could be built to the level that I knew could be built because I built software. And so I just decided to build my own. And then on the flip side of that, I just started becoming friends with a bunch of gym owners who were curious about what software I was using because it looked different than everything else. And so you kind of just slowly turned into a company that way.
And I'm interested as a gym owner and a software developer yourself. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have marketing and sales skills that are necessary to scale this business with the thousands, if not millions, of gyms across the world. Where have you elevated your skill set? Have you outsourced your sales and marketing efforts? Have you used your neighbor Alex Hermosi to generate sales? What has been your journey and lessons learned in building skill sets outside of your own?
You know what? I'll give it to you guys because every question you've asked so far, it's almost like you kind of know how to build a business. Like that is a very, very tangible question. Yeah, when we first built this, we thought we can just build a better product and it would sell. And the answer to that was absolutely not. So I actually came and took a sales course here in Vegas. I used to live in Los Angeles, and that sales course that I took changed the whole trajectory of my life, really, because it made me, I didn't want to be a salesperson because of everything I saw on TV. And what I began to realize is if you don't sell, you don't live. You got to eat to live. And so that sales course really changed the trajectory of not only, again, the business, but my entire life and my gym at the time too, because I was running a gym still. So long story short, we've homegrown our own sales solution. We now have a whole sales org that we've built, but it was quite a journey to get there.
Dan, I just have to tell you this in all humility. When you said long story short, I'm laughing because I've been doing 651 episodes of this show alone, 1,950 in some episodes of the playbook. Your answers are not long stories. We have had long stories. I'm trying to get more stories out of you, buddy. So don't worry about long story short. Your short story long. Anyways, we got one last question for you, Rhett. Yeah. Blaine, who wants to jump at it?
Go for it.
The idea of story. I think the old meme, the closest distance between two people is a story. And if I'm in a gym and you're talking about engagement, what's this is just kind of pulling this out of thin air here, but what's a story that increases the likelihood that I'm going to come and show up 8 times a month?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the bottom line of this is like, you're joining my gym because you want results. And most people have tried to get results on their own. Like 80 to 90% of the world just don't have the accountability or the place to get the results that they need. And to me, the number one function of the gym, besides the community and the third place aspect, but really it's like you're showing up not only for yourself, but for the people that are in the gym, your coaches, the rest of the community that's there. And to some degree at the gyms that we service, the fitness is almost a byproduct. Like you just show up every day. It's fun because you're with your friends. It's fun because your coach makes it engaging and fun. And then you turn around 3 months later and you've lost 15 pounds and you feel better. And that's, to me, that would, if I was running a gym again, I would sell it more like that.
There you go.
It's super smart. It's interesting because we all talk about engagement and the relativity of engagement to productivity. It's interesting to have engagement from the participants, the subscribers, and then, of course, the attendees are more important than actually employee engagement because those numbers are proof in the pudding, astounding in their nature to get people to show up. I always say the same holds true in coaching of any type. We want it more for our clients than they want it for themselves. And if we can facilitate that through a better experience and results, would seem that more people would show up if there was a direct connect through showing up and the results that they desire.
Yeah. I mean, in my belief, it's like the first 3 months, you've got to get the engagement together. You got to get them connected to other people in the gym, connected to the coaches, like believing in what you're doing and showing up, because they're not going to see the results for a month or two. But then once the results start showing up, that's when the snowball happens. And then it's actually an S curve, because when they get on the tail end of it and you start to plateau, you still have to be showing up for your friends. You still have to be showing up for the community and your coaches, and believing that you can get out of the S curve on the other end of it later.
Yeah, it's an interesting business, but for the betterment of all. Push Press, a great platform to manage your gym, and I'm sure there's other businesses that can be utilized as you get and scale this business that have very similar types of memberships and the same type of critical business issues. We look forward to seeing you. We are filming in Nevada. I think Rhett and Blaine will be there with me in November. So we'll have to have you come over to the Sirius XM studios of ours at the Wynn, and we'll be filming our TV show. So I'll have my team reach out. We'll have a these guys at a VIP dinner as well. Flex Lewis will be there, and many
okay.
of your other local your local yokels of the gyms. We'd love to have you, Dan. Thanks.
I would love to connect. Thank you.
The Conor McGregor of Las Vegas.
Yeah, we'll get
There you go, yeah.
Michael Chandler. He's in New York now. Going to fight in November, so he might be back out in December. Anyway, we'd love to see you. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dan.
Awesome. We're right and moving around. Lindsay's waiting in the wings. We'll bring her right on right now.
Right.
Lindsay Namiash is here, a local CEO at Jive PR and Digital. Welcome to episode 651 of Office Hours. Lindsay, thank you for coming.
Thanks so much. Nice to be here.
Well, it's great to have you because PR has changed since the years past that I ran Lee Steinberg way back when. And the combination of digital influencers, social media, and even user-generated content. I don't think of myself as a content creator. I think of myself as a content capturer, and I let people create what I capture. But I was just wondering, as a thought leader in this space, with all the accolades and awards that you received in your space and industry, how have you seen that evolution and the impact of social media influencers and user-generated content through and utilizing PR nowadays compared to even 5 years ago?
Oh, it's a loaded question. It's changed so much, but I think it's better for the world, right? Like I feel like we're getting more real testimonials. It's not just what you read. Do you believe it or not? You can go to multiple sources. And I think for brands that are embracing it, it's really about creating cultural relevancy. So, you'll deal with brands in different stages. Startups, they need certain things that big brands that are established don't need. And so what this new proliferation of UGC, influencers, all of that, as well as PR, is these big brands can now become culturally relevant. So you can find a trend that's about to take off on TikTok, and within 48 hours, 24 hours, you can jump in and discuss it and be part of it. So you're showing your community that you're there, you're in, you know what's going on. And then on the smaller brands, like I think that's the way that we love. We're very lucky. We've got a unique model as an agency. We've been around for 15 years, which is dinosaurs. Everyone looks at me. I'm like, yes, I'm old. But what that's done is we also have this little studio incubator model. So we'll work with certain brands that we believe in, that we'll actually physically invest in, as well as help them grow. And then we've taken brands from seed stage through to IPO. And so seeing those different stages of what they need is also very interesting. And I think because it's expanded so much from just PR, just social media, just advertising, you can see what works at different stages. And there's ability to really create more community with their followers and the general, I also think brands need to give back. Like you need to be creating community. You need to be you can't just be selling. You need to be helping people, relating to them, and helping take brands on that journey. Yes, you can still have the conversions and all of that, but how are you actually growing your community?
Yeah, the focus on community, Lindsay. I'm very happy to hear you talk about that specifically. As a digital play, I mean, if I'm to bring you in to my small business, and I'll just use myself as an example here. Post-COVID, pre-COVID, we were in 5 countries, offices in 5 countries doing all kinds of stuff. 2020. 99% of my book of business disappeared overnight. So there's a brand rebuilding that began to occur once I got my feet under me about August of 2020. Started looking around going, okay, now what? And that whole idea of now I've got to go to market in a different way. Because I had no digital presence. I mean, the company didn't. That's not what we did. We were focused on large enterprises, Fortune 50 companies, which is different than where we're at now. Solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, that sort of thing. What's the way that, if I'm that client, and if I'm the avatar that you're working with, how would you actually position me, my company, to actually begin the process? And David's done this brilliantly, but begin the process of building community such that it begins to translate into a more, so that I can monetize it, I guess.
Yeah.
net of it?
Great question. So I can walk you through a bunch of different examples, but I'm going to try to do one that applies to both startups and larger stage companies. So I think first, I know people say it all the time, but truly like core values. So what your core values as a company, as a founder, what they are, you need to know them. And when we start working with brands and they don't have core values, we make them create them, because you can't create a community if you don't have values that you're attaching it to. And so we, and most people do have core values set out, but for ones that don't, we'll take them through an exercise to get there. So you work on those core values, and I'll start right just on social. Then you take each core value and you create it as almost like a pillar in how you go out and you engage with, from creating your content to the types of things that you're posting. And that becomes a factor of building community. And then what we call is like the secret sauce, and it's a lot of work, but it really makes a difference, is this thing called digital romancing. And what that is, it's like as the brand, you're going in and you're finding people, and it could be really important people, or it could be just your day-to-day general audience target that you would be going after. And you start liking and commenting on what they're saying on their social media channels. Like they put a post up of, they went with their friends to a barbecue on the weekend, like that post as the brand. Or if they're doing something, you comment as the brand in your target demos feeds. And I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but I've had, I know that this is part of community building, and I've had certain brands that have all of a sudden liked one of my posts. I'm like, ooh, and even though it's, but it makes me feel seen and validated and heard, and then makes me become more loyal to that brand. So I think it's brands that just go out and have a one way, they're just talking at you and throwing content and posting things. That's not community. That's a good form of marketing in some things, but you need to be creating a dialogue. You need to be creating the best brands. If something goes wrong or someone posts something negative on their page, the best brands, they don't have to respond and react, because their fans are going to come in and respond and react for them. So that's the power of building community, is that, it takes care of itself. If again, everything's tied back to those core values.
Perfect. Thank you.
So Dave doesn't know this, but you
I
get
don't know
the
a lot.
you get the award for the best freaking name for a company of the week, right? So what is the story behind Jive? Like the images that sort of conjures up, or they're just kind of fun, but like, what is Jive? Does it mean something? Is it something that, like, you sitting around drinking wine one night and like Jive? Like, what's the story? I gotta know that.
Okay, so I've got the best.
What's your walk-up song?
I've got the real story, and then the best story of what someone said to me when they heard the name was Jive. So for us, Jive, it was a combination of, people always, when they're talking, be like, oh, that just jives. So when it works, it really goes together. Like, it just makes sense. That was the original behind Jive. But then I remember media, we were doing a media event. Now this is like 15 years ago, right? So just that, rewind to that time. Remember media come up and he goes, have you ever heard about what Jive Talk means? Like, I think you might want to rethink the name of your company. And I was just like, and they pointed me to a movie to watch back in the day. So the meaning is things that just seamlessly go together. It jives, it works, all of that. But I do realize that it has a different connotation with certain audiences as well.
Well, you certainly jive.
Then you were Jive talking. Yes.
Yeah, well, I think you definitely jive with today's world of PR and digital marketing as well. Understanding how to build a community. When people ask about a brand, it's more about the community today than the recognition or awareness of a logo or an image. And over 15 years of experience shows that you've evolved in utilizing traditional and are now non-traditional manners of marketing and PR. If you want to jive with the best, if you don't want Jive Talk, then go to our friend, Lindsay Namayash. She's a local. We'll have you over to SoFi to meet our community, Lindsay. We're right around the block from you. Our offices, studio, masterminds, dinners, all in Southern California. You can reach out to jivepr.digital.com. If you're looking to build your brand in your community, there's no one better here, especially in Southern California. You can just, the list of accolades and awards speak for themselves. So congratulations. And we'll have you and see you back on.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. Nice to meet
Thank
you all.
you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Lindsay.
Bye.
Well, we were just talking about that cool name, Jive. This is exactly where I wanted to start with Edward Terry Bus. He has the Erie Bus haunted attraction. And Ed, welcome to Office Hours, episode 651.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Well, haunted houses are all the thing here in Southern California because Knott's Scary Farm is closing. It's the last year here in Southern California with Knott's. It's been a tradition, and they've always utilized a different way of terrorizing or haunting you during, taking Snoopy and making it scary is not easy. But Knott's Berry Farm and Knott's Scary's Farm has done a great job over the years. You're over in Michigan, and so I'm going to start with the name. Your last name is Terry Bus, is that correct?
It's pronounced Terebus, and then the haunt is called Erebus.
Erebus.
So,
See, I thought you would go with Terabus, and being the terror, in making of the monster. The Erebus is the best haunted house in all of Michigan. What makes a haunted house special? What makes Knott's Scary Farm and the making of a monster what makes it the best haunted house?
Well, see, just what makes it special is everybody loves Halloween, but you go trick-or-treating for so long, and Halloween's almost like a selfish holiday because you don't have to go visit nobody. You don't have to buy anybody any presents. You get to dress up and be whoever and whatever you want to be, and nobody will criticize, condemn, or complain about it, So it's kind of how do you keep doing Halloween after trick-or-treating is done? And one of the big ways is to go out and get scared in a fun, insane, sometimes insane environment. But there's a whole energy behind the haunted house. I mean, you get in there and you hear people screaming and the actors, it's different and it's amazing. We had a brain study group come in here to the haunted house. Yeah, we're actually looking at people's brain waves before they got in the costume and after they got in the costume. And it actually changed. So when they actually got into that character, they became somebody different, which is kind of a neat concept,
Yeah, well, Michael Herman wrote a book, Alternate Ego Effect, the Alter Ego Effect. And so I used to carry Tony Gwynn's baseball card in my baseball hat, thinking that would change my own self-image. But go ahead, Blaine. Sorry.
Oh, no worries there. I love haunted houses, and just a couple of data points here for the listeners. The best haunted house in the nation, named by USA. You've got the Guinness World Record for the longest walkthrough in a haunted house attraction. But what I'm interested in is the innovation component of it, because once I've been to a haunted house, I go to another one. There's a lot of the same kind of stuff there, and and I'm scared. How do you keep innovating, and what is it? There's two pieces to this. What is the most innovative thing that you've actually done in one of the walkthroughs, but also from the soul of business perspective? How did you get into this? And for 40 some years, you've been doing this. What keeps it alive for you?
Wow, you got a lot of questions here.
I know.
Tell you what, we got into it years ago. Actually, we're going back to 1981. My brother, joined the company, and the company made him join the JCs. And in the process of doing the JCs, they were doing their haunted house project, and he just loved it, man. He just fell in love with this stuff. And then over a couple of years, that JC chapter went down. And then he moved from one company to the other, and he went to Ford's. And Ford's he got laid off from. And he was laid off. He goes, I'm going to build a haunted house. And he was 28 years old. I was 18 at the time. And I went, sounds like a good idea. And he literally built a prefab building in his backyard. And somehow, some way, we got permission to set that thing up in front of Kmart's. And I mean, it was the first year was a disaster. I mean, 60-mile-an-hour winds came and wiped out the building before we had the internal supports put in. We were set up in a low part of the parking lot, and every time it rained, it would just flood us out. And the customers were walking through 3 or 4 inches of water. Nobody complained. Everybody had fun. And that was back then in 81, we charged $1.50 to get in. So that's how we got started. And we went from 1,200 square feet to 2,800 square feet to 3,400 square feet to we had, at the end there, we had 10 mobile home trailers, which were 14 feet wide by 70 foot long. And we'd pull them into Kmart's parking lot, Sam's Club's parking lot. And we sat there and ran that for a month. But then between the storage, moving the thing, temporary electrical, temporary water, we go, man, we could buy a building for what it's costing us to do that. And here we bought this building in downtown Pontiac. The building is 113,000 square feet. It was used as an indoor junkyard for 40 years. It was almost abandoned. There was no anything running in this thing, any doors that are opening up. We put them in there because this thing there was nothing. It was all old Cadillacs from the 30s to the 60s piled to the ceiling. And back in 98, when we bought the building, they literally, it was probably millions of dollars worth of Cadillac parts, and they just scrapped steel them out. They went through over 40-yard dumpsters full of scrap steel of Cadillac parts. Pretty incredible. So then what makes us different, at one point in time, like you said, there were probably, really close to 100 haunts within 50 miles of us. And the problem was when we went to the trade show, we'd see something and we couldn't buy it because we'd be just like everybody else. Like you said, you go to one haunt, it's just like the next haunt, that by the next haunt. So it forced us to innovate. And we look at everything. What can possibly scare you? Well, one year it just rained, and me and my brother sat there. And if we say we're going to be open, we're open till 11 o'clock. We sat there in the rain. Nobody came, and we were shutting it down. And my brother Jim goes, "Ed, look at this! Look at this!" I go, "Jim, come on, let's just shut it down and get out of here. Come over, look at this." And there was a puddle next to the building, and it ran under the building, but it reflected the side of the building. It looked like there was a 30-foot hole in the parking lot. And we were giggling like little girls. But, oh my God, this is so cool. And we created what is now known as the bottomless pit in the haunted house industry. It's obviously you put a mirror in the ground, reflect it, but it's not the mirror that makes the effect. It's where the light source comes from. And you got to use phosphorescent paint, behind it to make your light source. So you have a light source, but not really a light source. And that created a bottomless pit. We've been running with that for 30 years.
That's awesome.
But like one of our newest things is, you ever sit in a car and have the car next to you roll forward a little bit and you slam on the brakes going, oh my God, it feels like you're rolling backwards. I've been thinking about that for 6 years. How can I take that feeling that every one of us has felt and bring it into the haunted house industry? And we created something. We call it the moving room. So the actor goes, and he grabs your attention. You got to look at him. And then he'll actually take it and go like this. But as he moves forward, the room moves with him. So it looks like he didn't move. It looks like you moved because it forced, you get that feeling of like pushing you back. In reality, I moved with the room, which means that your brain goes, that doesn't happen. So we actually accomplished that. Or, we thought about, how do you bury somebody alive? Put somebody in a room, fill it up 6'6". How long can you hold your breath? Man, we thought about that for many, many years. And, we created that and we have that here. That's something that, people are dying to find out how we do that. And that's one of our tricks of the trade.
Hey, so another question, Ed. I come from the toy business, and there's no better business in the world to bring smiles and laughter to a person's face. I think that's absolutely the best business in the world. So you've got to have a story, like just one story, quick story on like what's a memorable moment of a reaction that you've gotten from somebody walking through the haunted house. Like there's got to be something really memorable.
You know what? I've lightened up in my older years here. In the days before, I had the philosophy of show no mercy. If somebody's here to get scared, that's our job. Let's get them good, And I even told my actors, if I say, won't scare them, that's a key word to come out and get them. I'm going to give them false hope, and we're going to get these people good. And there was this woman. She was a big woman. She passed out inside the haunted house. I was the first guy there. We already called the fire, EMS, and we got her to, and the fire exit was right there, 10 feet away. But what scared her was between us and that door. So she refused to go that way. So we had to go 50 feet the other way. And what do? Not even thinking. I yelled out, "Don't scare her." But it really meant don't scare her. And the actors came out and scared the hell out of this woman. And she passed out 4 more times in the haunted house. And then when we finally got out, she'd walk 5 feet and pass out, walk 5 feet and pass out. And all of a sudden she jumped in her car and she's going to drive away. And I'm thinking, you're going to kill somebody. So I reach in from the passenger side window and I'm grabbing at her keys. And this woman grabs my arm like a chicken bone. Takes a chunk out of my arm. I'm screaming. She's screaming. Fire department comes. They actually held me longer than her because I have a human bite wound on me,
There's a million stories. I cannot wait to go visit Michigan. This sounds amazing. They don't win Guinness Books of World Records and other notable things. If you want to have literally your life scared out of you for a few moments, there's no better place to be. A haunted attraction. Go to hauntedpontiac.com. Get more information. Stop by. It's worth traveling in for. It's the best haunted attraction in the world. Over 44 years of experience. Jim and Ed, I think they financed their homes to go buy this thing. So it's well worth it. They put their life and soul into this business for everybody's enjoyment. Thanks so much. We appreciate it, Ed. We'll come and see you in the next few weeks. I can't miss this. We got too many friends in Michigan.
Well, we're going to make you laugh and giggle and scream all at the same time. So we keep track. In fact, we just hit over 10,000 people have wimped out. We keep track of all the wimps.
I'm going to see Dave scream. I got to see Dave scream. That'd be fun.
Well, I'm over 55. Maybe I'll get some Depends as well.
There you go.
Sounds great. Right. Hey, I appreciate you having me on, man. Happy Halloween to you guys.
Happy Halloween. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll take a little shift and no pun intended. AJ's in the house. AJ Mises is the CEO and founder of The Human Reach. And we are reaching for the stars there. But he has a game-changing career strategy to find the next expanded life stage. I was welcome AJ, by the way, to episode 651 of Office Hours.
Thanks for having me, David. Good to see everybody.
Great to see you. We were celebrating our Nobel Peace Prize nomination with Junior Achievement last night.
Woohoo!
On tour with Modern Achievement with Ashish, our CEO, and he brought out some incredible statistics for our entrepreneurs 15 to 25, something like they will have over 20 jobs in their lifetime.
Yeah.
And I know Rhett, Blaine, and that's not what they told us when we graduated college. I know that. And Henry Ford would be turning in his grave. I know that as well, along with, but you've been nominated as the #1 Emerging Entrepreneur of the Year by USA Today for your impact and leadership by helping people align today with an accelerated changing market, career market. And so I was hoping as people launch themselves, my own children launch themselves into an expanded career, what is the best piece of advice that you can give a college graduate or a senior in college today that's actually looking for the first stage of their career?
That's such a great question. And it kind of takes me back to when I was graduating college, and you have all the feelings of, oh my gosh, I need to make this right move, or I need to get employed right away. And what am I going to do? I don't have any work experience, maybe other than some internships. And how do I make this work? So the biggest advice that I have for people who are graduating school is that this first job that you take is just a collection of experiences. Nice. And so you don't need to get it right this first time. It's just to get some experience and to understand, really treat it like a playground. What are you going to take away from this that you love doing? Where do you find yourself taking some gravitational pull? Where do you also maybe find yourself doing like a magnetic push away from things that you don't like, so that you're setting yourself up for next? And what I tell people is, in this, especially in the first year, like it's really important kind of stick, I think, in my opinion, to stick with your first gig for at least a year, unless it's toxic or, unless of course there's something illegal going on, so that you can collect those experiences and you really are giving enough time to incubate and understand what you love and what you don't love. And if I take myself back to like my first job out of college, it was in sales, and I studied HR and I studied organizational communication. So I wasn't even working in what I studied really. However, the things that I learned in college helped me be a great salesperson. I was number one on the leaderboard in that first job. It taught me what I loved about business. The skills that I use though now, almost 20 years later, definitely had a foundation that was built in that first job after college. But I quickly moved into operations because of the results that I got, because of the things that I love doing. And after 6 months in that sales job, I stayed at the same company, but I just moved laterally over into an ops job.
Nice.
Fascinating. The Human Reach, the firm that you founded and you're the CEO of, works in the domain of human potential. And yeah, I kind of cut my teeth on human potential back in the 70s, and some of the early work that I did. The idea of what do you love? And you work with high-performing executives, high-performing professionals. And oftentimes, in my experience, they have been captured, and I use the word very specifically here, captured by other people's definition of what success is. And when I start to move away from trying to true to that ideal and start questioning what would I love, oftentimes it moves me in a completely different direction. There's the nexus point of challenge, I think, for letting go of something that I've been successful with and moving into something that I have no guarantees about, but I know I love it. How do you actually counsel people in that transition? Because that's a big leap.
I literally just got chills. That's speaking to the soul here. And it is so, we have so many factors in our lives that point us in a direction, right? We have our parents, or we have mentors, or we have teachers, or we have, various former bosses, right? That are, calling things out that then influence the direction that we take. And it's really hard. It's really, easy to listen to all those voices and to quiet our own. And so we do a few different things in that vein, where we talk to people about what we call the 70-30 rule. And the 70-30 rule is based around the American Psychological Association and a study that was ran about 2 decades ago, in that if you can do things 70% of the time or more that you love doing, you've actually hit the jackpot. And so then the question is, what is the 30? Well, the 30 is the stuff that just kind of comes with every job that you have to do, that you may not love, but it just, comes with the territory. Obviously, there's people that are doing stuff 100% of the time that they love, and that's great. But at a minimum, it should be around 70. And what they found during that study is that people who are working 70 more % of the things that they love doing were really fulfilled. So what we do is we help people go back and look at things even as far back as childhood. Like, what did you love doing when you were a kid? Like, where did you find that you had a gravitational pull? Was it like being on stage and singing, or was it, creating a business in your neighborhood and running a lemonade stand, or like, what were some of those things? And then we go forward from there, kind of like a top grading interview, if you will. And we try to see, like, where did you get accolades? Where did you find personal fulfillment? Where then in your career did you start to understand the things that you were good at and that you loved doing, not that you just were good at? And then we start to build a pattern bank, and we start to see, like, where are the patterns? Are we aligned with what we're doing right now all the way back, or is there some difference? And then we make shifts depending on what results we see.
Perfect. Thank you.
AJ, I'm hurt, man. I'm just hurt. Because I hate that we have to look at, I've got a 20-year-old and a 19-year-old, and they're getting ready to go out into the world. And I hate the idea that their first job has to be a throwaway job, right? Right? Because I think I took those jobs. I took those people seriously when I hired entry-level people. Because I actually wanted them to stay. I actually wanted to build a bench of people that were hungry and wanted to be where they were.
Of course.
Like, what is your advice for a leader that hires a bunch of young people and is trying to develop talent and is serious about it? Like, what is different today? What do they have to pay attention to?
Well, I think, the quote that David mentioned, or I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I think the thing that David mentioned around 15 to 20 whatever year olds, like having a lot more jobs than the generations that have come before. It's just a matter of fact. It's that, you know, people have the opportunity to work remotely now. People have a lot of different opportunities to make money and earn income. It doesn't necessarily have to be from one W-2 job. So just first of all, understanding that it's just a different world than what we grew up in, with a different set of expectations and different access to things. And so it's just having that mindset, number one. Number two is that it is way more expensive to keep hiring new talent into your organization than it is to like retain people that are amazing and to help develop them. And so the other thing that I think is a nice, you know, add on to the statistic of people changing jobs is that people crave development, especially young people. So how are we giving them, as business owners, how are we giving them times at bat to try different things, especially like in their first job, to see where they're excelling, where they're finding that their passions lie, and to help people think about their careers as a jungle gym rather than an elevator? And then how at the company do we try to facilitate that to happen? And so, yes, it's taking a lot of risk as a business owner, right? Because you might have someone try something that they don't have experience in yet. But if you're hiring for IQ and you're hiring for skill and will, that stuff just comes as a result of getting those times at bat. And so a lot of the things that we employ at my company is, you know, we just had somebody who was in sales who just moved into operations after showing us that he could do a really amazing job in that vein. We just had somebody who was also in sales now move into a coaching role after expressing interest in moving into a different position. And so we really try to foster that jungle gym approach to retain folks and keep developing their careers and show that we're investing in them just as like they're investing in us.
Yeah, I think there's a happy medium, Rhett and AJ, between having the aspiration of building and developing talent, utilizing their skills and knowledge and their values in order to create that delta, that jungle gym of desire. And you can't teach that. I can always teach someone a skill and give them knowledge of who and what, but I hire for the desire of I must be what I can be and take on an accountability as somebody of, okay, it's my job to figure out how to use your capability in my jungle gym. And if I don't have the swing set that is best aligned with the skills and knowledge that you have, but you have that desire, then I have to do a timing and risk tolerance of whether or not I build those swings out. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But if I don't, I find my friends in my neighborhood of who wants somebody that has the desire that they must be what they can be, that may already have that swing set built. That's what AJ has been doing for years, is one of the best. And we'll invite you back, AJ. We appreciate all your time. And it's a very, very important part, the human reach of what we're doing today, not just in business, but as these two know, with their children and our grandchildren, with over 20 opportunities ahead of them in their lifetimes. We need people like AJ guiding them as Sherpa to success. Check out thehumanreach.com. That's thehumanreach.com. Thanks. We'll have you back on, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good, David. Good to see you guys again. Take care.
Great to see you again. Keep up the great work. Thehumanreach.com. I will tell you, that's the first time that Coco barked and then set off your dog barking, which was quite a thing. Julie's, yeah, you can, I didn't get to walk her yet. Julie says hi, guys. Anyways.
Hey, Julie.
All right. This is my favorite time of day. I get two wise souls, two mentors of mine, Rhett Power, Rhett at rhettpower.com, and of course, BlameBartlett.com. Don't worry about Julie. She'll just keep banging away and she's leaving. All right. Episode 651 is just like episode 1. We have Julie in the background. All right. Takeaway of the day. I'm not going to get distracted. Who'd like to go first? There's so many great lessons from today. I'm curious what really resonated with you.
Yeah, go ahead, Rhett. Go ahead.
No. I'll just go.
Age before beauty, Blaine. Age before beauty.
Flattery will get you everywhere. I think the word I'll use here is story. I made the comment when we were talking with Dan that the shortest distance between two people is a story. I mean, if we're looking at connecting people, whether it's connecting them to a job, connecting them to what they love, connecting them to the notion of creating a community. I mean, all of that lives in story. And being able, and then I'll put this in a leader's vernacular here, being able to lead with story rather than data, I think, is probably the single most intriguing skill I can learn as a leader, to be able to craft a meaningful story that's got the data in it that I need people to have, but it's the story that they'll remember, and it's the story that connects them to me and connects them to the goal and the objective, the result that we're trying to produce. So I'll just kind of go with practice telling stories.
I love it.
Blaine, kind of on the same vein, I wrote down connection. And like I feel like all three of them are trying to connect people in a better way, connect people to their fear, some of their, to laughter and to being having fun. And I mean, AJ is trying to connect people to the right, to the right jobs. I just wrote down connection. Just was a relevant word for me today.
Those are great. Usually I'm right in line, and I love those, and obviously utilize that in all aspects of what I do. But there was one thing that really resonated with me, that we talked about age before beauty, and I see age before beauty when it comes to this realm. It was the digital romance. I think a lot of people go through the motions in building a community with all the possibilities and probabilities of today. And what I mean by that is there's so much that we can do, of course, in person, on the phone, and via email, but the digital romancing is underutilized. People, they think that they can just post a clever video and somehow somebody lying to them about digital marketing is going to somehow figure out the analytics and you're going to be seen by millions of people. It does not work that way. I romance every day in person, on the phone, and in email, and I've built that since 1992 and have learned to do that in all types of different hardware I've used to do that, from Blackberries to DOS, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about, in bag phones and brick phones, all the things that I've utilized. But with all of the fax machines with thermal paper, by the way, I've used that to use digital romance. But nothing's like what 7.6 billion people that are categorized now with AI, the capability of synthesizing an awareness to those communities that best align with our skills, our knowledge, and our desire. So if you're not in the digital romance realm today, then exponentially you're going to be missing out. And I think it's a key takeaway for connection and for the jungle gym and all the other things that our friends were talking about. But I'll probably be posting on Threads about my latest and greatest business romance is my digital romance. And so everybody take that away. There's always great lessons because we got the wisest ones here. That's not Santa Claus, and that's certainly not the Sphinx. It's Rhett Powers and Blaine Bartlett with us every day, giving us the answers. You bring the questions, he'll bring the answers. BlaineBartlett.com and Rhett Power, Rhett at rhettpower.com, two of my partners. You're going to see us now that I can officially tell you we are announcing our chairmanship of Napoleon Hill Institute, and two of my first corporate certified partners are going to be Blaine Bartlett and Rhett Powers. We're going to be providing all of the mindset, heart set, and handset of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil, and many more things that we've learned, and we're going to make it our own. We got two great leaders here. Come and join us, whether you're going to be in the accountability or moving possibilities into reality. We're going to have a lot of fun. I want to thank you guys for taking the time. God bless both of you. I hope to see you both soon. Thank you both.
Bless you, brother.
Thanks, buddy. Talk soon.
Thank you. All right. I got two great friends. That's why we can do these 651 episodes of these. I am on my way to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. I got 3 great speaking engagements over there. And then I'm going to come back home. We got a great mastermind and VIP dinner in Orange County, California. Next Wednesday, I'll be back. So wish us all farewell. Remember, you just got to email me, david@dmeltzer.com, if you want to join us. One more thing. Tomorrow, 25-year anniversary for me of Free Friday trainings. I've been doing Free Friday trainings on October 11th. Actually was my first one. I'm born on January 11th. Napoleon Hill Institute was started on January 11th, 1958. There's a lot of 111s going on. So we went 1011 October 11th, the 25th anniversary of Free Friday training. I'm going to give you the best 25 lessons I've learned in 25 years of Free Friday trainings. Over 100,000 people registered, millions of people watched the replay. David at dmeltzer.com if you want to be part of that community, that neighborhood. And if you can't keep up with me, don't worry. I can't keep up with me. So I created a text community, 949-298-2905, 949-298-2905. It'll let you and alert you where we're going to be or better. All right, everyone. I want to thank you so much. Remember, most importantly, be kind to your future self and do good deed. God bless you. Have a great week.